first dimension is pretty simple. A dot, a point, a singular state of being that holds no relativity. Nothing exists in relation to the first dimension. As soon as you start relating points to one another, we have entered into the second dimension. The second dimension, in a sense, is the dimension we have full understanding of. We encounter it everywhere we go. We often express ourselves in the second dimension through art or geometry. The second dimension is the shadow of everything in the third dimension. It holds relativity between the points in the first dimension and is easiest to symbolize as a line, length, and width. The third dimension is where our senses reside. We live in the 3D. We encounter depth, height. The second dimension is like living on paper. You would have no concept of anything above the page. If you were in a page in a book, the pages beneath and above you would seemingly be non-existent. This is important to consider when we start assuming the higher dimensions. The fourth dimension goes beyond our senses and our natural mind of reasoning and logic. It is not present, for the new depth presented in the fourth dimension is time. The third dimension is always bounded by a linear understanding of time. The third dimension is always present and holds no future or past, but the fourth dimension does. It would be a non-linear interpretation of time, where past and future don't exist outside of present. Interestingly enough, we too have this ability, but it is outside of the natural mind. It can be perceived with our creative mind, our imagination. We're looking inwards to our thoughts. We can envision scenes of the past or dreams of the future. Remember that the 2D is a shadow, a cross-section of the third dimension, much as the first dimension is a cross-section of the second. This then can be rationalized that the 3D too is a cross-section or shadow of the 4D. So, if we can direct our thoughts throughout time and realize them in the lower dimensions, why would you ever direct your thoughts toward negativity, as you would be subjected to them in your 3D experience? But remember that your 3D understanding of the world will only ever be witnessed in linear time. Whatever you believe in your thoughts will play out, but is the reason they don't pop into existence.
All changes take place in consciousness. The future, although prepared in every detail in advance, has several outcomes. At every moment of our lives, we have before us the choice of which of several futures we will choose. There are two actual outlooks on the world possessed by everyone, a natural focus and a spiritual focus. The ancient teachers called the one the carnal mind, the other the mind of Christ. We may differentiate them as ordinary waking consciousness, governed by our senses, and a controlled imagination, governed by desire.